Hello, and welcome to the Wild Blue Podcast, perspectives on aviation lives, lifestyles, and business.
Well, hi, I'm Chris Kirk, and welcome to the Wild Blue Podcast, where we talk about aviation lives, lifestyles, business. And today we have a special guest with us. It's Don Sumple. Don is the Executive Director of Angel Flight Central here in Kansas City. And Don, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So you're the ED there at Angel Flight. Can you kind of give just a description on what your job entails?
Basically, I'm in charge of overseeing the operation, working with donors, making sure that we follow the best possible business practices within the organization. I collaborate with other organizations on a national basis. There's no national Angel Flight organization. There are other regional organizations, and we have an MOU and we have a protocol that we work with. So I correspond and communicate with all them. Basically, also, it's called the Air Charity Network, by the way, that I work with. We have Angel Flight Northeast, Angel Flight Mid-Atlantic, Angel Flight Southeast, of course, Central, South Central, and West. And we have a great relationship, and it helps get people from one region to another in a very smooth and natural way.
You know, I probably should have. I've got the cart a little ahead of the horse here, but can you? Because there's probably going to be some folks watching or listening that don't really understand what Angel Flight even is. Can you give an overview on what Angel Flight does?
I'll tell you what, we're an under the radar organization, Chris. Literally, and excuse the pun. Angel Flight is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we arrange charitable flights for access to healthcare or other humanitarian purposes with the help of volunteer pilots. We collaborate with other organizations like I just mentioned, and there's people today that are alive because of our wonderful volunteer pilots and the organization getting to these treatment facilities. There has to be a need by the passenger, financial need in most cases. We do a screening, and then we hook them up with the pilot and get them to their destination.
So the pilots are volunteering, and pilots aren't compensated in any way. They're taking these folks from point A to point B as
Right.
a case may be.
Yep. Volunteer, they take care of their the communication once we get them all set up with the pilot and passenger. We also, they take care of the fuel costs. It's a strictly donated service, and it enables our organization for every dollar donated to really put into almost $5 worth of funding.
So at Angel Flight Central, how many pilots do you have that volunteer for you that are, I should say, active? You know, how many folks are out there doing this?
Yeah, we have about 320 pilots throughout our 10-state region. And we cover the mid to upper Midwest. So that would be Kansas, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Indiana, and of course, Illinois, our 10-state region.
Okay. And so the pilots, are they limited to doing missions in those areas, or do they oftentimes go outside that geographic region?
No, we'll actually, if they originate in our 10-state region, they have the option, say if someone's going from, say, Kansas City to Philadelphia CHOP Hospital, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, for instance, that pilot would have the option to take the flight the whole way. If they don't, we try to keep them in and around 300 nautical miles for expense and time-wise. And then we would link with another organization, probably Angel Flight Mid-Atlantic, to get them into Philadelphia.
Okay. What types of planes are they typically using?
You name it, we got it. A lot of Bonanzas, 4 to 6 seaters. We have a few King Airs, some jets. We try to keep the jets and the heavier metal for longer flights. Basically, it's smaller general aviation planes that our pilots use.
And the patients are always ambulatory?
Yes, that is a criteria for them to get in and out of the plane and fly with us. They also have to be able to dispense their own medication. They are allowed a caregiver. The oxygen has to be contained in a FAA-approved canister. And of course, the luggage is limited to 50 pounds per flight because of the size of the planes, but the luggage does fly free.
Right. Okay. another benefit or another bonus.
That's it. Just another thing from Angel Flight Central to our passengers.
All right.
No add-ons.
If you can't tell, Don has a unique voice. He's got a radio voice, and so I'm going to use that, Don, as a little bit of a segue. What's your background? I know what your background is, but what is your background, and how did you get involved with Angel Flight?
Well, it's interesting. My background, I've spent 30 years in radio. Started off as an on-air talent, went to become a program director, and did some management, GM the station in Denver for a short period of time, specialized in startups and turnarounds in the radio industry. And then in 2007, 2008, 2009, sort of what we're going through now, the economy started to tailspin, and these radio companies started to make cuts. I was actually coaching Blue Valley Rec baseball with my son, and one of the dads on the teams, the sons on the team, was the Blue Cross and Blue Shield CEO at the time, and was an Angel Flight Central pilot. And I got to know him quite well, and really got to know the mission, was very enamored by the mission. And then they were looking for an executive director at the time. They were looking for somebody with management, marketing, and promotional experience. And he asked if I had any interest. And with the radio industry being uncertain, sent my resume to him. And here 10.5 years later, I'm talking to Chris Kirk.
Yeah, the pinnacle of your career, no doubt.
Hey, it's a highlight, and you should be commended, because I know a lot of good stuff that you do too in the community. So I'm proud to be here with you. I really am.
That's funny. I appreciate that. Okay, so you're not a pilot though, right?
I am not. No.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, none of the staff are pilots. We have many board members that are, and I think by design, they sort of like that little bit of, non-partial opinions
right.
that they get from, the staff on a regular basis. And I respect that. I really do.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because I would see that almost as a benefit, not as a detriment to the organization, because it brings in a little bit of a different perspective. And is that pretty much the case?
Yeah, it is. One of the things that, we really do, and we have a great collaborative board. The board matrix is very incredible as far as different skill sets and the like. And I would say about 80 to 90% work in aviation they are pilots. We have a couple that aren't, but they bring a different skill set in. We have an aviation attorney on the board, and the ability to actually have people that are doing the day-to-day express their feelings as what they're seeing and what they're actually hearing and what they're dealing with from a non-aviation perspective, I think really gives the board insight as to what the organization goes through on a daily basis.
And how many board members are there?
We have 14 board members.
14. Okay.
Yep.
Is it what I would call a working board?
Very much so. Very much so. As a matter of fact, our board president just flew 1,500 pounds of PPE out to Colorado on Wednesday for Heart to Heart International on his King Air. They're very active, and I'm truly blessed. It makes my job a lot easier, Chris. They are incredible people.
Yeah, that's neat. So, and then how many employees?
We have 5 full-time employees, including myself. And we have 2 people in flight coordination. One is full-time, one does part-time flight coordination and is doing outreach for the organization. Then we have an operations director. We have a person that handles our accounting and bookkeeping, and she does social media. And then myself. And
they're all full-time?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just as kind of a side note, Don's office is actually right across the airport from where I'm sitting right now. I'm in our office in the Atlantic Aviation Facility here at the Kansas City Downtown Airport, and then Don is on the east side, but because of the coronavirus stuff, he's at home today. But I've spent some time on charity boards and have a real sympathy for the executive director, because I know how much of a herding cats scenario it can be. So I'm kind of interested in your leadership philosophy, because obviously you've done a fantastic job with Angel Flight, and how you bring all those elements together, the volunteers, the board, the donors, your team. How do you make that work?
Well, I got to be honest, I'm fairly easygoing. I am a big delegator. I really believe in surrounding myself with good quality people and letting them do their jobs. I'm very strategic. Once we set a direction, at the beginning of each year, we go through a SWOTs exercise in January with the staff. And that's looking at our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we put up big sheets. We write down all the strengths, all the weaknesses, all the opportunities and threats. And then we go through the process after that of having each member of the staff pick 3 essential things under the category of operation, fundraising, and outreach. And then we work putting everything together. And I only picked 3 under each category because you can have a list a mile long and nothing gets done. It's actually intimidating for people to see so we basically look at, okay, what's the 3 things we need to accomplish operationally that's going to have the biggest impact on the organization this year? What's the 3 things we're going to look at that's going to have the biggest impact on funding this year? And then the same thing with our outreach. And that's what we focus on for the year. And it's worked extremely well. I manage, let the people do their work. They're hired for a reason. They're hired for their talent. We have a staff meeting every Tuesday at 10. I have an open door policy, but it's really a great team effort. I'm so happy with the staff that I've had over the last 10 and a half years. Now we've had some people, come and go, but everybody is dedicated to the passion of the mission and also super serving our pilots, our passengers, and our donors.
And so can you share what kind of annual budget you guys work with?
Yeah, our annual budget is right around, without charitable fundraising expenses, we're right around $410,000 a year, okay. Daily and monthly expenses. Yeah.
And most of that is covered by the fundraising, or there are endowments that are associated with that?
Most of them are fundraising. We do a major event called Wine Flight. That's usually in the fall, November. And that takes care of about almost 4 months of our funding. And we have some other events throughout our 10-state region. We do a spring appeal and a holiday appeal that generates funds. And of course, some small grants come in throughout the year, and it works extremely well. Wine Flight by far is huge for us.
Yeah. And so just given what's going on now, is there much concern or talk about how that's going to pan out for 2020?
We're addressing that right now. I think we're going to wait till July and see exactly where this virus situation is, and maybe make a decision whether or not we'll do it live or virtual. But it is concerning, like everything else out there right now. Whether you're in the sports world, the business world, it's very disconcerting, and it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this year really shapes up.
Yeah. I certainly hope it works out, because it's a great event to attend, and it's one of those things with any fundraiser. I think when you have the folks there in person and you can get that emotional attachment, the ask always seems to be a little more effective.
Yeah. I don't know if I should probably explain maybe what Wine Flight is, if you don't mind me taking a few minutes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wine Flight is predicated on a wine competition called the Jefferson Cup Wine Competition, hosted by Doug Frost. And Doug Frost is one of 4 people in the entire world with the titles Wine Sommelier and Wine Master. And he runs this wine competition, and it starts usually on a Thursday morning and runs through noon on Friday. And after that, he'll donate the wine, which usually is about 1,500 bottles of wine. And we built this fundraiser around it. It's a wine tasting, so the doors would open at 6:30, run until about 8 o'clock with the wine tasting and silent auction and some fun little games that we have. Then we have a sit-down meal. After that, we have a program where we honor some of our volunteers. We usually have a passenger and a pilot speak on behalf of the organization. We do a fund a need and then a live auction with about 12 live auction items, which are pretty neat, trips and things of that nature. And it's a fun event. We usually draw between 400 and 450 people. People like it because the guys don't have to wear tuxes, and it's business casual or sports jacket. And I try to wear tie. But being the head honcho, you want to look good. But anyway, it's been very successful for the organization, and I can't thank Doug Frost enough for. I think this will be our 15th year, 16th year doing it, and he's been phenomenal.
Wow. Yeah, it's a neat event. So, there's a lot of folks, and I'm always surprised by the number of people in GA that don't know about something I would think would be a fairly common knowledge, like angel flight, for example. And what can you share, or what would you tell some of those folks who don't know about it, how to become involved, and what types of pilots, on the volunteer side, who are the kind of people you're looking for?
Well, we're looking for people that, truly want to give back to the community. One of the things that is a common statement I hear from everybody that flies for our organization is that they would be flying anyway. And it's a great opportunity for them to put their love for aviation into helping people get to treatment facilities that they would have difficulty getting to. So if you want to give back to the community, tie that in with your love of aviation. This is a great organization, whether you're in our region, whether you're in Angel Flight Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast region. It's a wonderful way to give back to people that are truly in need of medical help. I'll tell you right now, Chris, there are people alive today, men and women, that wouldn't be if it wasn't for the Angel Flight organizations and the pilots that are members and serve those organizations.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that's the case across all the different Angel Flight organizations that are out there. Are there any kind of restrictions on the types of airplanes that work for an Angel Flight mission, or the types of things that you guys try to, maybe not encourage?
The only one we don't take is experimental aircraft. That is something that the organizations do not usually, get involved with. If you're interested in becoming an Angel Flight Central pilot, all the criteria, the requirements and things are at angelflightcentral.org. That's angelflightcentral.org. We're always looking for pilots. We actually have suspended GA passenger flights right now. We're sort of gearing up right now to get back in it because of social distancing and the like. But now a lot of the medical treatment facilities are starting to open up, and there's going to be a need. And we're going through the safety processes right now of trying to make sure that we're keeping the pilot and the passenger safe. And we'll be rolling out some information next week. But we are doing PPE flights, cargo flights. We're flying blood plasma into St. Louis from Montana and North Dakota every Saturday and Sunday to help with the virus condition. We've flown mother's milk to a milk bank up in Minnesota to help with the shortage there. We've flown PPE into Kearney County Hospital in Western Kansas, into a hospital in Lexington, and we're going to be doing more of that as we continue to move forward through this coronavirus situation.
Yeah, and that's neat to see. I've been watching the website on some of the missions that are popping up, and have seen a lot of those PPE missions have disappeared in terms of they're getting picked up. I think they're pretty popular for folks to get out there and fly. And then I've also noticed here lately, it looks like there are some little longer term where there are some passenger ones that are at least showing up on the website.
Yeah. We've been very fortunate. We've had a wonderful relationship with Southwest Airlines. And during this time, for those people that truly needed to get to their treatment facility, we've been able to use that commercial resource to get them there. So we've been able to help those that truly needed the attention medically that they had.
Yeah. Well, not that it should be a primary concern for volunteers, but I know the question comes up or is in some folks' mind, and that is, as they do these volunteer flights, are those tax deductible?
They are. At the end of the year, the pilot will have an opportunity to go through what we call the AFID system. They'll be able to print out all the flights that they've done, and then it's up to the pilot and their financial advisor how they want to handle that. We do not get involved with any of that, but the reporting is there at the end of each year.
Right. So you make that easy for them to figure that out where they don't have an account for much of it.
Yeah, what happens is once you become a pilot, you send in your application, you go through a 1 hour, maybe an hour, 15-minute orientation video, and then you'll get a membership ID. You'll be able to go into our website, see the flights available that are there, sign up for the flight. Our flight coordinator will hook you up with a well-screened passenger. And then the pilot and the passenger will basically make arrangements that, what FBO they'll meet at, what time, and it's a very simple process.
Okay, that's good. So can you give any kind of overview or background on the demographics of the pilots who do volunteer? Do you see that they come from more one area of life than another? So for example, more business owners than non-business owners, or more aircraft owners versus, because people rent their airplanes as well to fly Angel Flight missions.
That's correct. Yep.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I think probably the people that take most of the flights are probably those, nearing retirement. Those that have the time. We do have quite a few people that are retired that love flying. It gives them something to do. So it's a little bit maybe on the older end. However, we're seeing more and more younger gentlemen and women sign up and start to take some flights. I do believe that I would say most people own their own aircraft. We do have those that belong to flying clubs and rent, and they do an incredible job. So it's a little bit more owned aircraft, but the ones that rent, they are very diligent. They love flying, and they're still out there helping us tremendously.
Yeah. Do they have to be instrument rated?
Yes. Yeah. We do have that as a qualification right now. Again, all the qualifications are at angelflightcentral.org. We do have a little bit higher standard as far as a little bit higher than the FAA's requirements based on currency and the like, simply due to the fact that they're flying some passengers. But all that's available on our website.
Okay. Well, if any organization, there's misconceptions around that organization. What do you see that people don't really understand about Angel Flight that needs to be cleared up?
Well, they think we're an emergency service. We get confused with the helicopters a lot, and we're not an emergency service. All these appointments are appointment driven, and we usually ask for 7 to 10 days once the request comes in from the passenger to get that filled. As you know, the pilots are all volunteer, they work, they have families. The other thing is they also think we just fly children, and that's far from the truth. 65 to 70% of the flights we make are with adults. Now, we do children's flights, and we also do children's camps. Unfortunately, they're all canceled this year, but we will do about 150 to 225 children's camps during the course of the summer. These camps are free for the parents, and in many cases the guardians. These are kids that are suffering from HIV/AIDS, cancer, heart disease, burn victims. The camps are free, the medical attention is there, all the activities are geared around those needs by those kids. And our pilots will take them up, drop them off, either the same pilot or another pilot will pick them up after a week. And it really makes those kids summer. They get a chance to hang around kids with the same issues that they're dealing with. And going up, I've been on a couple of those flights in the right seat. Kids are pumped up and the whole bit. And then coming home after a week, you're not even in the air and they're out like that. It's a lot quieter on the ride home. The flight home is very quiet, but it's wonderful to see.
But these are, just to make sure I understand, these are camps that are run by different organizations. Angel Flight is not running.
Yeah, we're just the transportation source. Yeah.
Okay.
They reach out to us, and we've had a relationship with a couple of the camps up in Minnesota for a long, long time. And we provide them with quite a large donation in flight services done by our pilots.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
And
so,
with what you do with Challenge Air, the expression on those kids and everything that they do, been at Challenge Air for almost the 10 years I've been there. And it's just wonderful to see the kids and the expression and the fun they're having. It's heartwarming.
Yeah, it's sometimes I got to walk over off to the side and not let somebody see a grown man cry, because there's just times where you're just, the excitement for some of these kids it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It's a tremendous feeling.
So how do you deal with changes in schedule? So you've got a volunteer, for example, and they're not retired, they're still working. And I can see where maybe they would be a little hesitant to volunteer because they say, 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out, whatever the case may be, I just don't know what might pop up that I'm going to have to attend to. How reasonable is it for those folks to go ahead and volunteer for a mission, and and a week into it or 2 weeks into it or whatever the case may be, they realize they just can't do it? Does that happen much, and how do you deal with that?
It happens. We'll get on the phone real quick. A lot. What does happen is some unfilled flights. And that to me is a little bit more disconcerting. And that's usually for flights on a weekend or something like that. We may have one or two, and we make some calls on Thursday and Friday. But other than that, it doesn't happen that much. It's maybe a mechanical. We have more cancellations, needless to say, due to the weather, especially during the summer months. Some icing issues in the winter and things like that. But the pilots are pretty dependable. And what happens is there might be 2 or 3 pilots will sign up for that flight. So if that first pilot does have an issue, whether they're sick or have a mechanical, we'll go to the second pilot that has signed up for that flight and see if they're available during that time.
And the organization's really clear too about if there's something unsafe, or the pilot is the final decision maker here, and so because it's not an emergency service, if a decision has to be made in terms of safety, you guys stand right behind that and say that's it, right? That's exactly your decision.
Yeah, it is. It's the pilot's call. They're the PIC. And, you get to a point where we tell our pilots, and I send out a letter, I rather have a canceled flight, because you could cancel a flight. You can't cancel a bad decision.
Right.
Yeah. And we really try to promote a culture of safety. We try to stay away from the word mission, because it's a mindset. We like to refer to them as flights. And basically, having the pilot safety and the passenger safety is really the most important thing that we care about during the course of our business day, weekends, or whatever. Pilot safety, passenger safety, and doing things right.
So I'll put you on the spot here a little bit. What would you say is the best, and then maybe if you could share maybe the worst leadership decisions that you've made since you've been involved with Angel Flight?
Whew. I guess the best was, when we recruit our board, I do have input, and I think we've had some incredible referrals to the organization, and being involved in that process with some of the incredible beings that we have on our board has been just an incredible experience for the organization. Also, I believe that doing the SWATs has been very important to our organization. And I'll give you another one. When I came on board in 2009, we were approached by the Better Business Bureau and to be a rated charity. And that involved going through a 20-step process, and it was tedious. But the board president that I mentioned, that was the son played on the baseball team, came on September 1st of '09, and I came on September 1st of '09. And we decided to go through that process. And that process has made our organization stronger and better. And we go through that process every 2 years to be accredited charity. And that process through the Better Business Bureau of Kansas City has made us a better organization.
Interesting. So now, the hard part. What if you had to do it over again, what would you do?
I'm going to probably give you an answer that you're just going to sit there and laugh at. I don't think I would do anything different. I think you make mistakes and you learn from those mistakes. You grind through losses and you learn from them. So I don't think there's anything that a person could go through. You have losses, you make mistakes, you make bad judgment. But if you learn from those, I really don't think that there's anything to regret. It makes you stronger. I tell my son all the time that life is nothing more than persevering. He's in the advertising agency business. And you have ups and downs, you lose clients, you win clients. You basically have a great campaign. Sometimes things don't work out the best, but as long as you learn from your mistakes and you can absorb a loss and realize why, and you go forward from that, it makes you a stronger individual. And it also gives you a foundation to look for so you don't make those same mistakes again. So really, that's my answer. I may be a cop-out, but that's the way I feel.
No, it's a great answer. It's a great answer because I think a lot of people try to avoid failing. And when you do that, you don't learn.
I'll tell you what, if you're not failing, you're not trying, in my opinion.
Right.
Tell me one businessman or one person that's running an organization, whether it's, Clark Hunt for the Chiefs, Andy Reid, or somebody that's running Delta. You're going to get to a point where you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a poor decision. And that's just part of being in that position. And it's what you do with the mistake or the loss or whatever is, how you grow and you put yourself in a better position the next time that particular situation comes along. Yeah.
A good perspective. So, we're getting kind of close to a time limit here, but I do want to ask one final question, and that is, what's next for Angel Flight? What's next for Don Sumple?
Well, I just want to continue to build the organization to be as strong and be one of the best charitable aviation organizations there is in the country. I want to make sure that the organization, when the time does come for me to leave, I leave it in the best possible situation that I can. We have three-legged stool. We have passengers, we have pilots, and we call it pennies, but we need a lot of pennies. And I try to keep that three-legged stool balanced. And I appreciate what our pilots do. I appreciate what our donors do. And I appreciate what our passengers are going through. So we try to super serve all three of those legs of that stool each and every day.
I know you did it once already. Can you remind everyone how to get a hold of you? What's the best way to contact you and Angel Flight?
Yeah, just go to our website. All the information's there for all the staff. Anything you need to know if you want to be a pilot, passenger information is there. It's angelflightcentral.org. That's angelflightcentral.org. Everything is there for you. And I hope we have people out there that have never heard of the organization now can get the word out about the organization. There's so many people out there, Chris, that can use our service but really have no idea that we even exist. So anything the viewers or the people listening to this podcast can do to help get the organization's name out there to those in need would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of misconceptions in general aviation, but the thing that I hope folks hear from this episode is how many good, giving people there are within the general aviation community that really, they want to help others. They're using their airplanes, their aircraft, their talents, their time, their resources to do that. And Angel Flight is one of those spectacular ways and a great example of how to get involved with your airplane and really just make a difference. So Don, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate all this time that you've spent with me. It's been very enlightening, and looking forward to working with you over the years.
Hey, thanks for having me. And here's the blue skies and the tailwind, my friend.
That's right. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Wild Blue Podcast. Find us online at flywildblue.com. And don't forget to subscribe and share.